Ho, ho, ho! Is this thing on? Mic check. One sleigh, two sleigh. That's right. I've got a podcast now. Stories, jokes, and some serious North Pole nonsense. Santa Has a Podcast is out now at santahasapodcast.com. Ho, ho, ho!
Support American jobs while standing up for your values. OldGloryDepot.com brings you conservative pride on premium, made-in-USA gear. Don't settle. Wear your patriotism proudly. Visit OldGloryDepot.com today.
I say this every election cycle, and I'll say it again. The 2024 political field was intense, so don't get left behind in 2025. If you're running for office, the first thing on your to-do list should be securing your name on the web. With a yourname.vote domain from GoDaddy.com, you'll stand out and make your mark. Don't wait. Get yours today.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking Battlegrounds with your host Chuck Warren. I'm Sam Stone. Joining us on the line, our first guest, Jon Levine, friend of the program, now writing for the Free Beacon after previously reporting for the New York Post. Follow him on X at Levine Jonathan. Jon, something big happened in New York, and maybe some bureaucrats from across the world got their noses in a little bit of a twist. What's your takeaway from the UN General Assembly?
The biggest traffic jam in the world. That's right. as a veteran of it for many years.
And on property that we could sell for a lot of money.
It's terrible.
Just saying.
And you know, someone should do a great story on all the parking tickets those people get. It's hard enough. And they just park in the middle of the road. They're motorcades. You know, you can walk into the hotels and you'll see like 5 African kings in the lobby wearing, decked out in the bling that the foreign aid purchased for them. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's weird. I mean, it's fun to watch. But look,
it's terrible right until you get the president of France having to walk a mile.
Oh yeah. I was nice, but that cop was too nice to him. He should have said, just you wait your turn, frog. The president is going down.
Right.
It's iconic. Trump's speech is iconic. It's the only reason to watch this thing. And I know Netanyahu spoke today. I haven't actually seen it yet, but I will get to that probably after I get off the radio with you. And he really just tells them what they need to hear. It's so pleasurable. It's so refreshing to see a U.S. president go to that body and sort of lay it out as it is in these countries. And, he didn't name specific names when he talked about countries being overrun by migrants, but obviously we know he's talking about Europe. He's talking about places like the UK and like France and like Germany and like Italy. And I think it comes from a place of love. I think Trump loves these places and wants them to be nice.
Yes. I think he wants the whole world to be nice. And I mean, that's kind of the misapprehension of him, right? This guy is for peace and prosperity.
Yeah, he wants everybody to be a millionaire.
Right. I mean, there are parts of the world that are not nice, and they've never been nice, and they're probably never going to be nice. Let's just be honest here. But Europe used to be really nice, and Europe has a cultural legacy that we are part of. And I love the UK. I'm the biggest Anglophile you'll ever meet. And obviously, your listeners will know that the most popular name in the United Kingdom is Mohammed now, which speaks to a changing demographics in the United Kingdom that Trump was talking about. And it's because, you love these places that it hurts so much more to see them become something not quite so good.
Yeah. So Netanyahu, just so you know, he announced this morning that Israeli intelligence is streaming his speech live to every Gazan and Hamas phone. And he has a message: lay down your arms, let my people go, free all 48 hostages. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel will hunt you down.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's
perfect.
I've never understood that Israel is fighting a war against an aggressor who attacked it. Mm-hmm. And a war should end when one side surrenders to the other. And Hamas can end the war tomorrow.
Yes.
And I don't understand why shouldn't Israel prosecute this war until Hamas surrenders and releases the hostages? And it's doubly crazy that they should be providing humanitarian aid to an active enemy they are at war with.
Exactly.
John,
What are we doing?
You hit on something really important, fundamentally important. The idea that a war is won by one side surrendering, by the other side achieving total victory, because it seems like since Vietnam, the world and the world press, the global media has gotten this idea that wars end when people just stop fighting.
Yeah, like we just have some middling armistice.
Yeah.
No, you need to defeat the Palestinians totally.
Yes.
And then Israel's will should be imposed.
Exactly.
And they started this conflict. That's it.
Gaza
That's
would
it.
make
That's
a
how you will end it.
fantastic beach resort.
Yeah. So we had this shooting this week where a gentleman named Josh John shot 3 detainees. He didn't even kill ICE agents. He killed an immigrant, and 2 of the detainees were shot. He left a bunch of anti-ICE messages on the bullet casings, and the press can't seem to figure out what his motive was or what ideology is. I mean, John, this is crazy. What are these people doing?
The press is always going to be the press. That this is like the oldest story in the world. You've got all the evidence in front of you, and it's just like nothing to see here, folks. We may never know. Obviously, it's on the president, it's on the administration right now to really find a way to deal with this, because we can't live our lives every week some terrorist attack, and that's what this is. These are terrorist attacks.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Charlie Kirk was a terrorist attack.
Yes.
This is a terrorist attack, and we should view these far left radical groups in the same way we look at Al Qaeda, in the same way we look at Hamas.
Yes.
They are domestic terrorists. I'm not that old, but some of your listeners may remember the Weather Underground and a lot of these jokers in the 70s. And you need to just find these groups and totally dismantle them and their funding networks. And a lot of their funding networks come from this ecosystem of nonprofits and NGOs that are run by very respectable-looking people.
Right.
And, no outward criminality. And you might see them at dinner, and they look very nice, and they're very charming. But they're essentially funding domestic terror networks. It's all got to go. All got to go.
So James Comey was indicted yesterday. I was talking to a friend this morning about it, and we were laughing that, the press always likes to bring up, well, he made these comments 5 years ago. Democrats just seem to think, well, if something happened more than a year ago, 2 years ago, we should dismiss it because it's old. But
dismiss it on one side.
Yeah, but what's amazing about this with James Comey, I'm convinced if after 2020 he had just shut up instead of going on and taunting Trump all the time, I'm not sure the charges are legit, but I'm just not sure they would have ever gone after the charges. What are your thoughts?
Well, making false statements is one of those things that if they want to prosecute you, they can always do that.
Right.
And it's only Republicans that ever get roped into making false statements charges. Democrats and these other deep state types can make false statements, lie to Congress all the time with no consequences. There are many examples I could point to you. I remember when James Clapper said they weren't spying on Americans. There's lots of stuff, and he was never charged with anything. Look, as it's been said many a time, nobody is above the law. You've heard that, right? We've
right.
heard that?
Well, Comey said, if you go back, I think it was 2021 when he said these leakers will be prosecuted. Right. We're going after them. He made a big point of this. Right.
And there's so much open criminality in the FBI, in the Justice Department, that's not even, we don't even think about it, but it's like, I remember when there were all those nasty leaks about Matt Gaetz, which I don't want to repeat here because they're frankly libelous, but they were insinuating things about him that were not true for a year. And then the investigation closed with no charges filed. But all those leaks making very scurrilous accusations by an FBI probe, all those leaks are criminal. You can't leak active stuff on an active investigation on somebody. Who leaked those kinds of stuff? And that kind of thing happens all the time in our Department of Justice. Well, and it's just never prosecuted.
Right.
And no one looks into it. And look, are we going to have equal application of law or not? And I don't know. If the charges are bogus, then a jury will acquit him. And then we'll be done with it.
Correct.
Well,
Trump can't control a jury.
No.
But if a jury listens to, if there's a trial, grand jury indicted him. They tried to get other indictments that weren't accepted by the grand jury. if a jury of his peers decide he's guilty, then that's it.
Well, here's the thing, too. I looked this up yesterday. I think on a federal jury, I looked it up, you have to have at least 16 people on a grand jury agree with the charges to indict. It's a big lift. It's not a simple lift for a federal charge.
No, but I'll throw this out. What are the chances of actually getting an indictment because you're trying him in Northern Virginia, where all you need is
you mean a conviction? Conviction,
because all you need is one cookie-pushing left-wing bureaucrat on the jury to hang it.
Well, right. That's going to be something down the road, and we'll have to see. I don't know, but to me, this is not a complicated case.
No.
If he did it, it should be pretty easy to prove. Like, this is X, this is Y.
Right.
It's not like Hunter Biden, where we're going through reams and reams of financial documents and contracts, and so I don't. If there's a there, I think it'll come out quite quickly.
Well, either he lied or McCabe lied.
2-page indictment.
Yeah, either he lied or McCabe lied. But it's a simple charge, one or the other, right? And so it's a simple one. We have 3 minutes left here. What is your whole take on the Jimmy Kimmel situation? For the government being so powerful, coming back to work 5 days later doesn't seem that powerful. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. That was a scary 3 days. The world lost Jimmy Kimmel. Thankfully, free speech has been saved. So obviously, Roseanne will be coming back too, right?
Exactly.
Right, because ABC is so committed to free speech that we're obviously going to bring Roseanne back, right?
Look, I'll settle for Gina Carano getting back on The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I'll settle for a million other examples. I think Kimmel should come back. I don't believe it was correct for the FCC to get involved in that. But why does this only ever go in one direction?
Always.
Why is this always one direction? It's never even a question that Roseanne could come back. She had the highest rated show on television, and they canned her for a 2 a.m. Ambien tweet. Which was a bad tweet.
Exactly.
It was a 2 a.m. Ambien tweet.
Exactly. And she had to come hide out in Utah. She was in Salt Lake, get out of her childhood home.
By the grace of God, we go ourselves. And her show was yanked in 2 hours, and she was never been heard from again.
No.
We lose Kimmel for 3 days, and we're in a free speech constitutional crisis. Give me a break.
Got a minute left here or two. What's your last words? What should people be looking for the next 30 days?
Well, Trump just said, I saw a video of him saying he's got a Israel-Gaza ceasefire deal to release the hostages. I have no idea what he's talking about, but that's pretty exciting. If that's true, it could be the 8th war that he ends. He's not going to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
No.
That's going to come out next month. I know it's going to be shocking to a lot of people, but those socialist
by the way,
who are in charge of that.
The leader of Hamas has a better chance of getting the Nobel Peace Prize.
By the way, do you find it rich that the Greta flotilla going to Israel, that they've booted her off, and now that the Islamists on board have found out there's LGBT people on board, they've booted them off too? Is that just a funny story?
Whole boat should be at the bottom of the ocean.
I do too. It's just the funniest thing.
All of them, including Greta.
I'm on board with this program. I probably shouldn't be. Jon Levine.
Sink the boat. If any IDF is listening, sink the boat.
Somebody's got a torpedo with that boat's name on it somewhere.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jon Levine, thank you so much for joining us once again. We always love having you on the program. Folks, you can follow his work at the Free Beacon or on X at Levine Jonathan. Breaking Battlegrounds will be coming back with more here in just one moment.
All right, imagine this. You're running for president. Yes, president. What's the first thing you need? Well, besides the $1 million fundraising, you need to secure your web domain. You need your name, .vote. Easy to remember, straight to the point, and a direct link to your campaign. No, but seriously, whether you're getting out to vote or convincing people that yes, you can fix the potholes on Main Street, a .vote domain helps you stand out. It's not just a website, it's a call to action. Head over to GoDaddy.com or name.com, type in your name, .vote, and boom, you're ready to make a lasting impact. Get started today with your .vote web address.
Welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. Our next guest up today is someone who popped onto Chuck and I's radar after a fantastic piece he did for Pirate Wire's called I'm Sorry, But You Have to Assimilate. So welcome to the program, Sagnik Basu, a journalist and media creator, has spent the last decade working across both legacy and independent platforms from Fox, alongside Tucker Carlson, and many more. And he recently wrote this amazing piece. That's why we brought him on here. Sagnik, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, y'all. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background first, because for a lot of folks who may not know you, how did you get to the place where you're writing this piece about, hey, people have to, if you're coming here, have to assimilate?
Yeah, sweet. So quick footnotes. I was born in India. I was raised in the UK. I moved to the States almost like a decade ago. Started in Washington, D.C. politics. Worked for a blog called The Daily Caller, which was founded by Tucker. Went on and worked for Fox, and then started my own production company. I'm in New York City right now building that. Having lived in States during the last 10 years, it was kind of like a funny time because we went through a million different news cycles.
Yeah. Right.
And during that time, I got to travel a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, not just in New York, D.C., L.A., but also in the middle of the country. During that time, you learn a lot about the country in general, and that kind of like forced me to kind of like revisit my relationship with the country, especially as an immigrant. So that's part one. And part two is that when you see everything that has happened as a reaction to mass migration, then that kind of conflicts with what you believe about the country. So because of those two things, I kind of went into my own bubble and think about, hey, what even is America? What should immigrants' relationship with America be? And the last point is that I also try to host events for immigrant founders, immigrants who move to the country to build companies for America in America. And I like to talk about just patriotism in America in general to these people. So net, during all of this, I kind of was obsessed with the idea of America, what immigrants think about America, how they can make it better, and what is the limiting factor, like what kind of people we want here, what kind of people we do not want here, which is why I wrote the piece.
When you were traveling around the country, did getting outside of the media orbits in New York, D.C., did that change your view?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's almost cliche to talk about it right now, but right. New Yorkers, people who live in D.C., they get paid to talk to their bubble, right? So the misconception is that media talks to people, but media talks to media at the end of the day.
Yes.
And I can say that because I work in the industry, and it kind of manifests as when writers write what they write, when panelists talk about what they talk about, they are looking for pats on the back from their colleagues and their respective cohorts in their conservative or liberal circles. However, as it turns out, there's a vast majority of the country who, for the longest time, have felt like they were not being represented in culture and media writ large, which is why you saw the backlash in 2016. And right now, because of independent media, you have a lot of people who talk to those people. But to answer your question, when I traveled, I had to I quite quickly realized that the coast, the media, the Hollywood, capital C culture are not talking about them. And that was reinforced because most of my friends in D.C. and New York are conservatives from the middle of the country or the South. And when you talk to them, you quickly realize where they're coming from, what they believe in, and how different that is from what the rest of the media believes in.
So you made a great point in your article, and I want you to explain it to the audience. So Sam and I are big on illegal immigration. We think probably we really need to look at the numbers that we allow and to double or increase it to some degree, right? I mean, it's okay. We want people here that want to be
quality
here.
Immigration benefits this country.
Who want to be Americans. So that's my whole point. We want people here who want to be Americans. We're based on this document, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all those things. But, you know, you made a point, which I'd like you to explain to our audience. People come from countries and they have culture, and there's nothing wrong with that culture. We want them to celebrate their culture. But they seem to, we have this, right now, this trend like, well, I was born in Guatemala and I'm really a Guatemalan. Right? Or, crazy Omar up in Minnesota saying, I want to go back to Somalia.
I represent Somalia.
What would you tell people here who are seeking citizenship, who are listening to the show, how should they handle this assimilation, knowing that we want you to become an American? America should be number one. It should not be the country you left. What would you tell them?
That gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? So, when you join a company, the company wants you to wear their badge, right?
Right.
The lanyard around your neck, like the way you can be identified as part of a company. When you play for a sports team, no matter what your skin color is, you put on a jersey and you get on the field. That's the idea. I think most Americans could not care less who these, like what the background of these immigrants are. But they care, and they start caring, and they start noticing when they come from those countries and they still want to be the people who they used to be, right? That doesn't mean that you completely change your past. You forget your background, you forget your heritage, you stop celebrating your religious practices, what have you. But at the end of the day, your first identification and your first loyalty should be towards America. It's the Teddy Roosevelt quote, which is, there should not be hyphenated Americans, meaning you cannot be Afghan American, you cannot be Iranian American, you have to be an American. And the nuance here is that for the longest time, people had no issues with people identifying as Italian American or Irish American or German American, because it felt like those people who were coming during those waves of immigration, like the WASPs, if you may, like they were assimilating in a way in which is quite different from the recent waves of assimilations have happened. And to answer your question regarding Ilhan Omar or Omar Fateh, yeah, I think there's a stark. I think the problem is that their view of America is only that of immigrants can come here and they get to do whatever they want to do, because America at the end of the day is whatever these immigrants make of it. That's one view, which I think is not the right one, and the right one is that...
That's actually putting their view better than I've heard them put it, quite frankly, but yeah.
Yeah, because they won't verbalize that, because that kind of that's the gig, right?
Right.
So, because they don't believe in a fundamental, like you said, like Bill of Rights, the American good, they don't believe in the American founding.
They believe in having various opportunities and services handed to them here for them to take advantage of without question, but they're not buying into the ethos that built those systems in the first place.
Correct. And the point is that the opportunity is a byproduct of immigrants buying into the promise of America, right? So what I try to tell is that everything in life is about give and take, cost benefit. So at the end of the day, assimilation should be the price of admission. You get to come here and become American, and that comes at a cost of you assimilating. And it's sad that it sounds like it's a cost, but it's a beautiful thing.
It is, absolutely. We're going to be coming back with more here from Sagnik Basu in just a moment. Folks, stay tuned for that. Follow him on X @_Sagnik Basu. Breaking Battlegrounds, coming right back.
Old Glory Depot isn't just a website. It's a movement. Featuring unapologetically conservative shirts and gear, we're proud to deliver 100% American-made products. From premium materials to bold designs, every purchase supports American jobs and celebrates our country. Show your pride, support your values, and shop oldglorydepot.com, because patriotism never goes out of style.
Welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. We're continuing on with Sagnik Basu, creator, producer, community builder based in New York City. He's the founder of Midnight Thrift Media and head of media at Food 52. He had a great piece on Pirate Wires talking about, you've got to assimilate. Sagnik, I'm going to throw out something maybe a little bit controversial here. Chuck has heard me say it before. I've always said people are equal, cultures are not. We can celebrate every culture, but I think there has to be some recognition that Western culture has created opportunity and stable societies in ways that other cultures have not managed to achieve. And people ask, what has the West done? It's that. We built a society where everyone can build their dreams in their own way.
That is 100% correct. And that also comes down to the heart of the issue, because for the longest time, the doctrine of the progressives became that all cultures are created equal, and we have to, quote unquote, celebrate our differences.
Exactly.
And that, I think that's where it's almost uncomfortable to talk about it. And it became uncomfortable because progressives did not want to admit that there is something uniquely good about America, which needs to be celebrated. People who understand that, the irony here is that immigrants are the ones who understand that, right? Which is why they're coming here, but they are not in a culture where they get to admit that and be proud about it. Because the progressives are telling them that there is no difference between, American culture, Iranian culture, Muslim culture, whatever, because it's all like whatever it is, to each their own kind of thing. But you actually have to look into the numbers and see what America has produced, what is unique about America, the fact that anyone can come here, build their dreams, and kind of buy into the doctrine. That is the unique thing about just American democracy and liberalism in general.
I have two questions for you here, as we got 4 minutes left with you. First of all, you work among conservative political media circles. Have you ever run across anyone in those circles who does not cheer for an immigrant who came to this country and did well? Have you ever heard anybody just begrudge that?
Not in the popular conservative circles or conservatives who are in media, but I would be lying if I did not admit that there is a growing faction of the online right-wing media, which is kind of resentment-based.
Yes, resentment politics. Yes.
Resentment politics, which is quite similar to that of the progressive culture. Like they have resentments towards white Americans. So I think, but to answer your question, I have not seen that being people critiquing legal immigration in the progressive circles per se, but there is a growing part of the online right, which is basically saying that we do not need any immigrants, period.
Yeah, and I wonder, though, on that online right, and you're right, I find those people putrid, they're anti-Semitic, they're anti-immigrant. I find them to be loud and noisy and not have as many followers as you think. They are very much a fringe. Let me ask you this other question. The HB1 visas that Trump's talking about, what are your thoughts on that coming from India?
Yeah, so there could be two things can be true at once. H-1B visas have been abused by a lot of consulting firms, and not to get too technical, there are some consulting companies in India which apply for immigrants twice just to rig up the numbers so that the denominator kind of shrinks. So, but TLDR, that H-1B visas have been abused in a way which is not good, but that does not mean the system needs to be scrapped. It needs revision,
right?
Because
I would say it just needs better oversight. Quite frankly,
it needs oversight. I have never gotten an H-1B visa, so for what it's worth, I came to America through a visa called O1 visa, which is meant for people who work in arts and or sports. But H-1B specifically needs a lot of oversight, and the $100,000 can be hurtful towards smaller companies, which is where a lot of the innovation happens in America. It's chump change and pocket lint for big companies like Google, Amazon, what have you, but it will hurt bottom up Silicon Valley immigration in a way which smaller companies prop up in America like nowhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've been great today. We loved having you on. This has been fantastic. We appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, anytime.
So Sagnik, how can folks follow you and stay in tune with all the work you're doing? And then obviously we'd love to have you back here on in the future.
Sure. My name is Sagnik Basu. You can just look me up on Instagram or Twitter and YouTube. I try to host political cultural conversations with my friends who are working in the media circle. My X is _SAGNIKBASU. My Instagram is _SSAGNIC.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate having you on the program. Folks, stay tuned because our next guest, Jennifer Say, seven-time member of the U.S. national gymnastics team, founder of XXXY Athletics, and involving herself across the country right now in the fight to keep kids from being mutilated by the left. That's coming up. Stay tuned. Breaking Battlegrounds coming right back.
In today's digital world, standing out is more important than ever. Whether you're running for office, leading a cause, or hosting a vote for the cutest pet in town, you need a web domain that's simple, memorable, and action-oriented. You need a .vote web domain. It's clear, impactful, and establishes a lasting presence for your campaign. Don't wait. Head to GoDaddy.com or Name.com, type in your name.vote, and get started today. Because after all, every pet deserves a web address that's as special as they are.
Welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. There's Chuck Warren. I'm Sam Stone. Our next guest up today is someone I am very excited to have on the program. I know we both are. Jennifer Say, seven-time member of the U.S. national gymnastics team, 1986 U.S. all-around national champion. She's also the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics and serves as chairwoman for Protect Our Children Colorado. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So why is Protect Our Children necessary?
Well, I'm the chairperson for one specific initiative within the sort of space. There's three of them,
right,
in fact. But the one that I'm chairing is to protect girls' sports. Our girls deserve their own sports,
right,
their own spaces. Mm-hmm. And I grew up as an athlete. You mentioned my achievements there. I started gymnastics just 2 years after Title IX passed, the landmark legislation that gave girls the same opportunities as boys within sports and the education system. And, the minute one boy breaches the boundary of girls' sports or spaces, those are no longer girls' sports or spaces. Mm-hmm. And as much as the other side wants us to believe that it's not happening, we know that it is. In the first half of this year alone, there were over 60 instances at the high school level in track and field alone of boys stealing podium spots from girls in one sport.
Yeah, I was at the city of Phoenix when the first sort of transgender issues hit with the transgender bathroom bill. And I remember saying at the time, I'm not really worried about the tiny percentage of people who are actually transgendered. I'm much more worried about the giant portion of our population that are perverts and will take advantage.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm much more worried about the girls and the women. They deserve privacy, safety, and fairness, and it is happening. It's happening all over the country. The International or World Athletics, which is the global governing body for track and field, just announced one that they would be doing sex testing in Olympic movement events. And they announced that their findings were, in the last 20 years, there have been 60 instances of males winning regional or global level spots in track and field. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. Now, these aren't all trans-identified. Some of these are athletes with DSDs. It doesn't matter. Right. I don't care which it is. Men are not women. Males should not be competing in women and girls sports. It's just increasing every day. There was an executive order signed in February of this year. I was there for it. That's great. That is not permanent legislation. Another president could just change it with the drop of a hat. And so we need legislation in our state, in Colorado, to ensure that girls have their own sports and spaces. It needs to be legislated at the national level as well. But in half of the states in this country, in all of the blue states, you still have boys competing and winning in girls' sports. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom is suing the federal government to continue to allow boys to compete in girls' sports. So we are far from done with this issue. And despite the fact that it's a majority issue, 80% of Americans agree with us, most are still too afraid to speak out. But I am asking them, for the citizens of Colorado, that they sign this petition so this thing can get on the ballot and we can protect girls and women in Colorado.
It's sad that we have to do this because, quite frankly,
it's crazy.
Well, it's bizarro world.
It's bizarro, and also I'm a little bothered by this. The fathers in all these blue states, the mothers, the fathers, they need to step up and protect their daughters.
Yeah, so what would Jennifer Say? She is the chairwoman of Protect Our Girls Sports from Biological Males in Colorado. Go there, sign the initiative. Jennifer, you probably have talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of parents and young women and girls who are in sports about this issue. Overwhelmingly, what do these young ladies tell you? What do the parents tell you? What is their story?
Well, there are many young women, and we bring them onto our team, our athlete team at XXXY Athletics. There are young women across the country who are speaking out. We established an award, we call it the Courage Wins Award, that's meant to take the sting out of cancellation and monetary cancellation. In particular, we want to encourage more girls to speak out. They are. They're standing down. They're refusing to compete. They're turning their back on the award stand. They're speaking at school board meetings. But the adults, the same adults who really should be leading the charge, are leaving these girls out there to defend themselves. And it's insane. I don't understand it. And they feel relatively unsupported in their communities. They know behind the scenes that their teammates agree with them, and that many parents of girls on the team agree with them. But most are too afraid to speak out. I mean, I can't tell you how many girls...
Jennifer, why? Why are they afraid?
You know what? They're afraid of being called a bigot. It's so silly.
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares? We are going to look back whenever the smoke clears on this thing. We are going to look back on this time as the most insane period in history when we let a loud and bullying minority tell us that men can be women if they say they are. I mean, it's so dumb on its face. The people who have been silent or have been advocating for that silly and dangerous idea, are going to pretend they never said it. We know that's true. They are going to memory hole this thing. But right now, they are very loud and they are very bullying. And not only do they have the mic, but they've captured mainstream media. And so it feels very scary. And I have people, young athletes I talk to every day that we talk about bringing on board for the brand who at the last minute say, I can't do it. I'm too scared. They're afraid of name calling. They're afraid of violence now in this current environment, which I understand, afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of all of this.
Well, you have faced all this. So what? So tell people what to expect. You have faced it.
Yeah.
You came out against the COVID restrictions in California. You've moved to Colorado. I am sure you've been called every name in the book, and you just sort of get to the point where you roll your eyes. But tell people what can they expect and why they need to stand their ground.
Well, that's a great point. One, you can expect that you will be able to stand tall and look yourself in the mirror and feel that you have integrity and did the right thing and spoke the truth and you stood up for your daughter. You will face some backlash, and that's okay. You will find a whole new community of people that stand with you. I think the days of kind of losing your job over this sort of thing are done. So it's social ostracizing that people are afraid of, which seems really silly to me. Do you really want to be friends with these people anyway?
Right.
Would, kick you out of a friend group because you say, my daughter deserves fairness and safety. But people are afraid of it. They don't want it. And, there are people I talk to that don't seem to understand how quote unquote controversial it is. And I do let them know what to expect. And I let them know that I'm standing with them and there's an army of girls and women standing with them as well from all political backgrounds. I mean, this is a uniting issue. It's 80% of Americans, 70% of Californians agree. So we will win, but we need that 80%, in Colorado to sign this petition and to vote for this ballot initiative. But more broadly than Colorado, we need Americans across the country to stand up and just say, yeah, I believe in biological reality. That should not be scary. Just do it.
No. So you touched on this briefly, but want to go over it again. People think because President Trump signs an executive order, all is well, that's the rule of the land. It's not. So why?
It's the rule of the land for 3 more years.
So why does this initiative protecting our girls' sports from biological males need to pass in Colorado?
That is then permanent legislation. An executive order it operates with the force of law while it is in place, but it only lasts for the duration of a presidency. So it's not truly a law. It's not legislation. We need federal legislation as well. I live here in Colorado. I want my daughter, who is 8 currently, to be assured that she will compete against girls and young women only as she grows up. So we need the legislation because that makes it permanent.
I think what has been most baffling to me about this, and I want to move on and touch on something else you've done, but what's baffling to me, Chuck and Jennifer, is that Democrats, the left, spent 50 years fighting for women's rights.
Yeah.
And now in the space of the last 5 years, they've completely thrown that out the window.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's so mind-boggling. So how many signatures do you need to get this on the ballot in Colorado?
Well, we're doing really well on this. We need 200,000.
Okay.
We think we're getting close to halfway there. There's going to be a real count, early in October. We don't have a full count yet. We've only really been at it for, 4 to 6 weeks. So, we're hoping we're about halfway there. It's going really, really well. I've been speaking across the state, primarily in and around Denver, and we have until January 2nd. Sorry. And if you go to protectkidscolorado.org, you can learn more about all 3 ballot initiatives, because there are 2 others. One is about banning sex change surgeries for minors, and the other is about stricter penalties for child traffickers. So all related to children. And as I often say to people, if you're not willing to die on the hill of kids and free speech, I don't really think you have a hill. And these 3 initiatives are all about protecting kids in Colorado. So if you go to Protect Kids Colorado, you can sign up. You can, to get petitions and collect signatures. If you don't live in Colorado, you can donate to the cause to help us get the word out and get the signatures. So whether you live here or not, you can participate. And I do think once we win in Deep Blue, Colorado, this will have a ripple effect nationwide.
Absolutely. So, we've got 3 minutes left here. You obviously were a world-class athlete, which means you have great fortitude. You can press yourself. When you came out and took a lot of crap, and we'll call it nothing more than that, for your comments on COVID and schools being open, since that happened and you've seen all these reports come out now, have you had people privately apologize to you for giving you crap?
No.
Jeez. That's
I
unbelievable.
wish I could say I was surprised by that.
I'm so disappointed in that.
Yeah, I mean, now that we know, right? I mean, we kind of knew at the time, but nobody said it at the time. And I was early. I started to advocate against lockdowns and school closures, before they even closed in early March.
Because you were looking at the data. I remember from your post, you were looking at the data. None of the data made sense for what they were talking about.
It didn't make any sense, but there was this mass psychosis, just like with this gender stuff, and I think now general consensus is, I have a more aggressive point of view than what the general consensus is. The general consensus is schools were closed too long. Mine is they never should have closed. We can't lock people down for any reason whatsoever. Stay home if you want to stay home. But I think people are either too embarrassed to admit they cheered for, their friends being canceled, shouted out the window, stay home, save lives. Everybody else is an evil bigot that wants to murder black children. I think they're either too embarrassed, or there is a portion that still believes it was the right thing to do and we needed to just lock down harder. So, but it was like a mass psychosis, and we're in another one right now on this gender stuff. And it's insane. I don't understand it. It's like people throw all common sense out the window, and their party loyalty is sort of more significant than anything. And it's like a religious fervor.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Before we let you go, Jennifer, I want to kind of take you back here a little bit. 2008, you wrote a book called Chalked Up, exposing, frankly, because I was familiar with this. I worked with a company called Sports Tech here in Phoenix that had a high-level gymnastics program attached to it, and I became very uncomfortable with it very quickly. We ran a baseball program beside it, and the contrast between the coaching and the two was dramatic.
Yeah.
How much did that fight sort of gear you up and prepare you for these battles you're taking on now?
I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but absolutely. I wrote this book, and I was the first gymnast to speak out about abuse in the sport, physical, emotional, and then the widespread sexual abuse as well. And I was absolutely destroyed by my fellow teammates, by USA Gymnastics, by the U.S. Olympic Committee. But as they attacked me, and I knew they knew I wasn't lying.
Right.
I knew they knew that I wasn't lying. It really just strengthened my resolve, and it made me understand that there's just powerful forces that are protecting their reputations, and they care about that more than kids. So I just kept going, and it prepared me for the onslaught in the next two causes I would fight for.
Well, we really appreciate everything you're doing right now and have been doing really since going back to 2008 and earlier, but in the fight with COVID and the closures, and now with what they're doing to girls' sports across this country and across the world. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. Again, give folks the way they can stay in touch with your work and contribute and back up the campaign you're involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. If you follow me on X, Jennifer Say, it's just my name, S-E-Y, and go to protectkidscolorado.org to learn more about the ballot initiatives and help us get signatures.
Fantastic. Jennifer Say, thank you so much for joining us. Really love having you on the program. And Breaking Battlegrounds will be coming back next week on the air. But in the meantime, go to breakingbattlegrounds.vote, download the podcast. We'll see you next week.
I say this every election cycle, and I'll say it again. The 2024 political field was intense, so don't get left behind in 2025. If you're running for office, the first thing on your to-do list should be securing your name on the web. With the yourname.vote domain from GoDaddy.com, you'll stand out and make your mark. Don't wait. Get yours today.
Ho, 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 ho. What do you get when you mix cocoa, candy canes, and strong Wi-Fi signals? You get a podcast. That's right, Santa has a podcast. I'm telling stories from the North Pole, sharing elf updates, and answering your questions. And yes, spilling some holiday secrets. It's festive, it's fun, and fueled entirely by cookies. Tune in wherever you get your podcast. It's Santa Has a Podcast. Just press play.
Welcome to the podcast portion of Breaking Battlegrounds. Chuck, all our guests were great today.
They were great, and they are all unique, and they've all I feel they've taken the wrath of people for being honest.
They have.
And I appreciate them doing it. Jennifer was fantastic. Our other two guests were fantastic. And Jon Levine, obviously.
Jon Levine's always great. I was really impressed with Sagnik.
I was too. And we need to have him on the show more. He had a unique perspective on it. And, let's talk a minute about the far right on the online world.
Yes.
Right? It is real.
Yep.
It's anti-Semitic. It's anti-immigrant. It's anti-lots of things. It's sort of it's white supremacist to a degree, right?
It is, and I think unfortunately it's also just a cry for attention among some damaged people, much like you see on the left.
And if you're a conservative, you just need to thump that down.
Yeah.
We just need to be done with that nonsense and give them no air. And I'm sure, we talk about their large followings. I wonder how much is actually Chinese, Iranian, Russian trolls that are liking them and feeding them and giving them this opportunity.
Well, and some of them are probably that too.
Yes,
I mean, some of
100%.
these accounts that have gotten big are almost certainly those troll farm accounts that had some. Well,
we know how hard it is to build an audience.
It's tough,
right? And so these guys all of a sudden just pop up and have 400,000, 500,000 followers. Look, someone's paying for it. They're not doing it themselves because they're not clever enough.
Well, it's also true though that these hateful niches, these truly hateful niches, are great at sharing information with one another.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So they spread this, and it's an easy way and a dirty way for someone to get a following. And I wonder, how much honesty is really out there in some of these, and how much is just attention seeking by people with no moral compass.
Candace Owens, is she an example of it?
She's a perfect example of it.
Yeah, it has been
her entire look.
That free fall has been amazing.
Well, look, I think it's very clear that Candace Owens' entire goal is the promotion and financial benefit of Candace Owens, nothing else.
So, would you say this is a great segue to my topic I want to talk about? The funny thing, I was talking to a friend this morning who's not a Trump lover, but Trump cracks him up, right? And he's conservative, but he cracks him up.
He's genuinely funny.
We were talking about James Comey is literally a self-righteous narcissist.
Yes.
And he was saying he thinks Trump's a narcissist. He goes, but the funny thing about Trump is Trump knows he is.
Right.
And he makes fun of it. James Comey, his comment is so delusional that he views he is morally better than everybody else, right? So now he's been charged by the FBI for media leaks. Basically, this is called low-hanging fruit by the FBI.
Right.
The penalties up to 5 years in federal prison or up to 8 years if the offense involves domestic international terrorism. So up to 5 years, right?
Right.
I have this theory that after 2020, if he had just shut up and not done the MSNBC circuit, done his stupid book tour, all that stuff, I'm not sure he would have. They would have hated him. I'm not sure there would be charges up. But they go back and he look. This is a slam dunk. Either he said it or McNabb lied, or
Right.
McCabe, or whatever his
McCabe
name is.
lied,
McCabe. McCabe lied. It's one of the two.
Right.
This is clear cut.
Yes.
But he is a self-righteous narcissist who has gone and terrorized people, and he deserves everything coming to him.
I will go further. He deserves far more than he's going to get from this charge.
Yes.
Because I personally believe that he committed treason in the Russiagate conspiracy without any question. That was a coup.
Yeah.
That was a coup against the legitimate president of the United States.
By the way, the attorney he's hired is the one talking about gymnastics that investigated Nasser, and they did not file any charges. They closed it.
Right.
I mean, what a scummy individual you're bringing onto your legal team.
Well, but that is who Comey Circle is.
Is 100%.
It's a scumbag circle.
American democracy last after the 5 days of hell of Jimmy Kimmel being suspended. By the way, and this talks about the media. When it first came out, a lot of the conservative influencers said his show's been canceled. It was never canceled. They never even uttered it was canceled.
No.
It's taking an indefinite hiatus. That was the word, right?
Right.
He was suspended.
Right.
And the only one really talking about besides us was Eric Erickson. It's like, guys, he's not been fired.
Yes. Eric has been like the only national figure who has accurately reported this incident.
It
from
was
start
a
to
suspension.
finish. Yeah.
But it also proves, as much as it was unwise for the FCC chairman
to open his
mouth, which he should have never done, at the end of the day, if you think Donald Trump shut down Jimmy Kimmel will still not be on that show today. It was never anything in the world that happened. ABC was never going to allow that. They would have screamed up and down, and they specifically, and Jimmy agreed to it in the press release. That press release was agreed to by both parties. His comments were ill-wise. They did not want to inflame the situation better.
Yeah.
And that's what this was all about. And you could think otherwise, but if you do, you're stupid.
Well, the other thing behind the scenes is that show's been losing an extraordinary amount of money, and apparently all the late night shows are now.
He just does not lose. He's not much losing as much as Stephen Colbert.
Right.
But it's losing money. And, the reality is he probably will not get his contract renewed. I think it ends in a year.
We may be at the end of the late night show era.
Well, we are probably at the end of the late night era.
Where it thins down.
Or where it's simply, we're not paying you $15 million a year. You get a $3 million a year thing. Make it funny.
Your staff's going to be a tiny fraction of your current staff.
If I was executive at ABC or
I'd
anything
get
else,
Kevin Gillis is what I'd do, but that's me.
But I would simply tell them when they come in, you are to have nobody with any political affiliation, pundits, former elected officials, current elected officials on your show. Your only job is to bring me actors and actresses on new shows, new movies, and we're going to go back to what they used to do. That's your job. I don't want anything else on this.
You know what? One of the reasons I loved Letterman was the new comedians he always found and brought up there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he introduced you to a lot of what we think of now as the great comedians of the last 20 years, 20, 30 years. The show would have you in stitches.
Yeah.
From start to finish. And it wasn't political.
No, he only got political when he went to Netflix and turned crazy. So, I mean, that's what they should do, though. You say, look, you can do this. I was often, say someone like Nathan Lane or Martin Short. You can come in. I don't want to hear any political and politics. I mean, get rid of the monologue.
Right.
Just get rid of the monologue. Bring in actors and actresses. Bring on musicians. Bring on comedians. And let's just have let people close their night having a good time and a smile.
Well, the point of the monologue was it was 5 minutes of stand-up comedy. Right?
You know who does this is Graham Norton.
He does.
At the BBC.
Yes.
He's hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's some great stand-ups out there now.
Yeah.
Maybe what you do is just bring in a different one every week to do 5 minutes of stand-up to start you off or whatever. But you're right. The politicization of everything on the left. And
You saw Serena Williams. They had in the hotel. They had a plant that looked like it was cotton, and she goes, "Really?"
Right.
As she's in blonde hair.
Right.
I just like Serena. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was meant nothing other than that. And some interior decorator who works with the hotel thought this would be cool, and it'd be interesting to know how long that plant or that decor was there.
Well, so my mother used to keep those around the house. They actually smell pretty good.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Really? The cotton does?
Yeah. So it has a kind of nutty almost aroma to it.
Really?
Yeah. It's a little spicy. It's a little nutty. But they smell really good if you have them around the house.
Well, that's fascinating. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I don't,
So, by the way, do you think the escalator not working and the teleprompter not working, do you think that was a coincidence?
Oh, God.
One's a coincidence. I mean, two.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Look. First off, someone just straight shut the elevator off, right?
Yeah.
And then someone turned off his teleprompter. And it is perfectly emblematic of the UN that they did this because it is a dirty, broken organization that deserves to be mostly eliminated.
So I don't know if I sent it to you. There was a great write-up as a Q&A. Politico does a Q&A in the afternoon, and the reporter who covers the United Nations is there. And so they're asking about Trump and that. And she said, because some of the liberals say they're laughing at him. She goes, no, they were laughing about his jokes about the teleprompter. I mean, she was very clear about it. They weren't laughing at him. And then they asked him, how does the Europeans feel? Like they feel good with him. They feel like he's supportive with them on Ukraine, right? And they said, the reality is it's Donald Trump's world.
Right.
She goes, everybody.
I heard that.
She goes,
that was a great, yeah.
Everybody else can think what they want, but it's Donald Trump's world.
Yeah. It is. And, everything he said to the UN needed to be said to the UN.
Yes.
It has needed to be said to the UN for a very long time. What we found out in recent months and weeks, I think the stat was over 60% of UNRWA is also actively involved as Hamas operatives and terrorists.
They're 60% of the teachers.
60% of the teachers. Literally, you could honestly, Benjamin Netanyahu could bomb UNRWA's headquarters, and it would not be anything other than an act of war and totally reasonable and legitimate.
Well, folks, we're going to end this episode. Kylie is gone this weekend on a bachelorette party, which they seem to happen every quarter.
Well, but she's at that age when all her friends are getting married.
I asked her how many, but she has 3 left after this. So that she knows of. They're not engaged yet, but she has 3 left she knows of. But, I want to end the show with this. The destruction and the death in the Middle East breaks anybody's heart. I don't want to see women and children in Gaza killed, though the numbers are highly exaggerated. The starvation is highly exaggerated. But if you are a supporter of Gaza and you think Israel is the evil empire, this is all you have to do to end this. Release the hostages. Mm-hmm. If you release the hostages, the onslaught will stop. It's pretty simple. You've had them 2 years. If you are too morally unaware to realize that 48 hostages are there, probably half are past or dead, if you do not realize that is the cause of this, then you need a real gut check.
They know what the cause. They know that. I mean, look.
I'm not sure.
No, Hamas really does know this.
Oh, Hamas knows it, but I think all these white moronic liberals.
Oh, right.
Don't quite get it. So if you really want to see it end, you folks should go do a petition protest, release the hostages, stop the bloodshed. That's simple.
I agree.
I did their slogan for them.
I give everyone on our side a challenge because I did this. It was freaking painful, but I did this. Tune out of every conservative channel for a week. Mm-hmm. Tune into MSNBC, CNN, the New York Times. Mm-hmm. Tune into the left. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you've learned about Gaza. I'm putting in quotation air quotes here, about Gaza in that time. it is going to. I did this, and I realize now part of the disconnect is that these folks are just, and you see this with Democrat politicians now. You see it with their media. They are straight lying to people.
Yes, they are.
Black is white, white is black. They are absolutely opposite of the truth on almost everything. And their representation of what's going on in Gaza, if you believe them, then you believe that most of the population of Gaza has been slaughtered. The remaining few are starving in rubble. None of that is true. There's no starvation in Gaza, first off. That's just BS.
No.
But also, the fact of the matter is that the presentation they're receiving is so far outside of reality, but they believe it because it's the only thing they see.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point. Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us this week. Obviously, rate the show. It helps us on the algorithms. Algorithms is an important word in the world.
I wish it wasn't.
I know, me too. But rate the show, share the show. You can always follow us at breakingbattlegrounds.vote or wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of Jeremy, Sam, myself, and the absent Kylie, thank you very much. Have a great week.